What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here to examine Marvel Team Up issue 100 by this creative team. I actually should have talked about this a couple of weeks ago. This issue actually came out maybe 2 weeks before Uncanny X-Men issue 144, and I had just completely forgotten to include this in the list of issues that I intend to examine. And so I want to go ahead and take this moment to let you know it is very probable that I am going to accidentally miss an issue that the X-Men appear in as we move into the era where the X-Men stopped being a series and became more of a franchise. I have all of the original New Mutants series. I have in X Factor everything up to the end of Peter David's first run. I have in X-Men everything on up until probably the end of the Jim Lee stuff. But then you have stuff like the X-Men Teen Titans one-shot. I do not have that. I don't seek out single issues, and that issue was collected in a trade paperback collecting some of the pre-amalgam DC Marvel crossovers from the 70s on up until the 90s, and that book is very pricey, and I do not have it. So I will not be covering the X-Men Teen Titans crossover issue. There was also an X-Men Micronauts two-parter. I do not have that. As far as I know, that has not been collected in a trade paperback anywhere. So there is some stuff that I don't have and will not be covering because I don't have them, or maybe I do have them and I just forget about them because I'm looking at, you can't see them, but up there on my shelf I've got all of my Essential books, Essential X-Men volumes, well, the first 3 stuff collecting the Silver Age, and then issues 1 through 9, volumes 1 through 9 collecting from 1975 to 91. And some issue of Spider-Woman, which I'll be covering very soon. I don't have my list in front of me, but that's not collected in the Essential X-Men books. I do have the 2 volumes of Essential Spider-Woman, and so I have that issue, but I don't have it ingrained in my brain, okay, this issue I need to cover next. And so, for example, way back in the 1960s, there was an issue of Fantastic Four where the X-Men guest starred, and I did not cover that issue. I think I have that issue. I have the first 2 volumes of Essential Fantastic Four. I just forgot to cover that issue. So that is going to become more likely to happen as we move forward and the X-Men and X-Men related characters start showing up in more books. I will try my level best to cover all of the important issues that are happening outside of X-Men, New Mutants, and X Factor. I won't be covering the Alpha Flight series because, well, I have the first, the 3 volumes that collect the John Byrne run, and while I enjoy that series, it really does not have much of an impact on the rest of the X-Men corner of the Marvel Universe. So I won't be covering the Alpha Flight issues. I think I said already, I won't be covering issues of Dazzler's solo series. There are a few issues that I will cover where the X-Men are present and have a little bit more of an impact on the comics, but I'm not going to cover every issue of Dazzler because, much like Alpha Flight, her solo series, while she started off in the X-Men, she really does not feel like a part of the X-Men universe when she's in her own solo book. Dazzler was intended to be just another Marvel character like Doctor Strange or Daredevil or Spider-Man, and so she wasn't meant to be a corner of the X-Men universe. So that is a little notice, if you will, for my examining the X-Men stuff. But anyway, this issue of Marvel Team Up is collected in the Frank Miller Spider-Man. Now, if you are like me, when I first found out this book was a thing, I thought, oh, okay, Frank Miller had a seminal run on Daredevil, completely changed the way that Daredevil is written and drawn, and just the direction of that series. Daredevil has never been the same since Frank Miller got a hold of him, and he had a couple of very great, excellent Batman stories in the 80s that likewise have completely changed Batman. And even though we have seen some goofier Batman stories since the era of Frank Miller, Batman, by and large, has been fundamentally changed because of Frank Miller. When you think of his Batman stuff and his Daredevil stuff, and then you see the complete Frank Miller Spider-Man, you might be tempted to think, oh, Frank Miller had a Spider-Man run. I want to see that. I want to see, what did he do with Spider-Man? Did he have any big significant changes on Spider-Man? No. This is not a Spider-Man run by Frank Miller. This is assorted issues that are either written by Frank Miller and not drawn by him, or are drawn by him and written by somebody else. And they're not even all sequential. There is a storyline here that ends on a cliffhanger because the conclusion of that story, Frank Miller neither wrote nor drew it, and so it's not collected in this book. So a little bit odd, and in fact, even there are issues here where Frank Miller did the interior artwork, but didn't do the cover, and so the cover isn't even collected in the book, which was kind of weird to me. But anyway, this issue of Marvel Team Up is written by Chris Claremont, who has been doing X-Men for about 5-ish years by this point, and drawn by Frank Miller. And looking at the cover, you might say, okay, why are you covering it in an Examining the X-Men video? It's Spider-Man and a Fantastic Four. Yes, but this is the introduction of Karma, who will later go on to be a founding member of the New Mutants. And this issue starts, like, very first page. Spider-Man is swinging through the city, and somebody possesses his mind. And then we see this woman standing in the shadows, and she says, I don't know why Spider-Man is resisting. I don't mean him any harm. And then she eventually is able to finally get a hold of Spider-Man and is able to completely control him. And we get to see some interesting aspects of Karma's powers that in later years are kind of ignored. And it's entirely possible that people who write Karma later on just aren't aware of these things about her powers. It says that being controlled by Karma is like being dipped in sulfuric acid, which would burn. That would very much hurt you if you dipped your hand in sulfuric acid. And so it's like dipping your mind in sulfuric acid. It burns whenever she tries to take over your mind. And also, she says that the longer she possesses somebody, the more she becomes like them. She begins to take on their personality and their quirks. And that's interesting. I don't think we ever see anybody really explore that with Karma as we go forward with this character. But I really like that this issue kind of explores that when you have people with superpowers in the Marvel Universe, you have someone like Senator Kelly who is scared of mutants, and honestly, he kind of has a right to be scared because he was nearly assassinated. And then when you have someone like Kitty Pryde who exists, and with impunity, she could decide to walk into the White House and steal some critical files, or go into a bank and just steal all the money in the bank. And there's nothing that can prevent her from doing that. So you understand why someone like Senator Kelly would want to enact the Mutant Registration Act, to kind of put controls on people with these really terrifying powers and prevent them from using their powers with impunity. You have someone like Karma. Even within the superhero community, people with telepathic powers, I feel like, would be absolutely terrifying. Quite often in the X-Men, and even in, like, the Justice League, you see this with the Martian Manhunter a little bit, where a character will say, I couldn't help but overhear your thoughts, Colossus, you're thinking about your sister right now. It was like your thoughts were screaming out to me. I couldn't help but overhear. And with the existence of telepathy and someone like Karma who has the ability to take over somebody's body, the very idea of privacy and your own mind having agency is completely gone. When you have someone like Wolverine, the idea of somebody who you could shoot him 1,000 times and then he would get up a few minutes later and he has these claws that can cut through anything, that's scary, but that's nothing compared to somebody who has these mental abilities. And you have someone like, Colossus. Nobody is talking about his right to armor up and turn into a living metal man. Nobody says, like, you can't do that. I have rights, and you turning into a metal man, that violates my rights. But someone like Professor Xavier or Emma Frost or Jean Grey or Karma, their very powers violates the rights of others. I have a right to my privacy. I have a right to thoughts staying in my head if I don't want them getting out. And someone like Jean Grey might walk in the room and might accidentally overhear my thoughts. And this was why I really hated Jean Grey in Brian Michael Bendis' All New and later his Uncanny X-Men stuff, where Jean Grey was just reading everybody's minds and didn't care about privacy. And people would tell her, hey, you shouldn't do that. And she would just say, oopsie, I don't care. And so the idea of telepaths and someone like Karma who can take over somebody's body, and Karma it almost seems like she doesn't understand how frightening her powers are and how she is imposing on the rights of Spider-Man and later the rights of the Human Torch, and how terrifying that is to these people, because she even says here, why is Spider-Man resisting? I don't get it. And she acts like and Karma, we find out that she has a twin brother, Tran, and then she has two younger siblings, a younger brother and a younger sister, Leong and Naga. And all of them, they grew up in Vietnam, toward the end of the Vietnam War. We don't get hard timeline details here, but this issue came out in 1980, and Karma is, I don't think we're not told exactly how old she is, but later on in the New Mutants series, she is living in her own apartment with her siblings, while the rest of the New Mutants are living at the mansion. So she is old enough to be living on her own. She is an adult. And so we get the feeling that when she was a little kid, the Vietnam War was kind of drawing to a close, and she and her twin brother Tran both find out they have the power to possess somebody's mind and control their body. And Tran, he used his power, he gloried in it, she says. There was someone who tried to kill them, and then he makes that guy kill himself, and he laughs about it. And then he goes and tells their uncle, who was a general in the South Vietnamese army, hey, I have these powers. And then he and Tran, they go to America, and then Jean, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Karma, her name is spelled X-I-apostrophe-A-N. When I was a kid, I always pronounced it Xian, because there was also a character in the X-Men 2099 books whose name was X-I-apostrophe-A-N. And I always pronounced it Xian, but then, like, in the New Mutant series and even in this issue, there are people who call her Shan, S-H-A-N. And so I guess her name is actually pronounced Shan. So Shan, her parents, Leong and Naga, they try to escape Vietnam via a boat, and then some pirates come in. They kill her dad, so she says. Later on, in the Astonishing X-Men series, this would have been like after X-Men Schism, I think, we find out that Shan's dad is still alive. I have no idea how he survived. Here, Karma says she saw him die. So he died, and then it says that the women who survived had an even worse fate. It's implying that they were raped by these Thai pirates, and then they are eventually rescued and brought to America. Her mom died on the day that she was rescued, so it's just Shan and her younger siblings. They make it to America, and then now I can't remember if her younger siblings were at some point, her younger siblings are kidnapped by her uncle, and he basically says, if you want to see them again, you will come and work for me like your brother has been working for me. And that brings us up to speed with what's going on in this issue, and you feel for Shan. You certainly empathize with her plight. She just wants to rescue her younger siblings. She doesn't want them, if they have similar powers that she and Tran have, she doesn't want them to be used by her uncle like Tran has been. And so you definitely feel for her here. But also, I feel like she could have actually used her brain and figured out a better strategy for rescuing her siblings, because she acts like, and then she finds out later, when Spider-Man is trying to rescue Leong and Naga, Ben Grimm says something about, Spider-Man, you're a good guy, why are you doing this? And she's thinking, oh, I made a huge mistake. I didn't know Spider-Man was a good guy. And I have to say, even if Spider-Man was a villain, and we find out later she was looking in a newspaper looking for job opportunities, and she saw Spider-Man's a villain. The Daily Bugle's been painting him as a villain for 20 years. And even if he was a villain, he still has rights. And that's where Karma doesn't really seem to understand that her powers, she needs to understand why everyone is reacting the way that they are to her powers. Because later, after she fails to rescue her siblings by controlling Spider-Man, she goes to a small Catholic church where Father Bowen is. Now, Father Bowen is the uncle of Dagger from Cloak and Dagger. And I have no idea when Cloak and Dagger first appeared. I don't know if they first appeared in their own series or if they first appeared in a Spider-Man book and then later got their own spin-off series. I have no idea. I'm assuming that they had already appeared by this point, since we are seeing Father Bowen, either that or whoever created Cloak and Dagger, it might have been Bill Mantlo, I don't know, that he later retconned, okay, this guy who appeared in this Marvel Team-Up issue is the uncle of Tandy Bowen. I don't know. But anyway, Spider-Man, so the Fantastic Four, they use this machine to look at Spider-Man's mind, and they see, oh, for a couple of hours here, your mind was like a flat line. You didn't have any memories of you doing this, trying to kidnap those kids. And then Mr. Fantastic calls up Charles Xavier, and he says, yeah, I sent some mutants in downtown Manhattan earlier today. Do you need my help? No? Okay, well, good luck. And that's all that we see of the X-Men here. And then they go to the Catholic Church, Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man is naturally a little upset that somebody took over his mind and used him as a puppet. And so he busts in, and then Karma, again, you feel for her, but she is acting like, how dare you? Why are you trying to bring me to justice? Why can't you just leave me alone? And I feel like she needs to use her brain and think, okay, you could have killed Spider-Man. You could have killed somebody else. At one point, Spider-Man, being controlled by Karma, backhands the Invisible Woman who is trying to stop him from kidnapping these kids. And of course, Karma knows what's going on, that she's trying to rescue these kids, but she does not know how strong Spider-Man is. At one point, early in the issue, she sees she's controlling Spider-Man, and he like destroys this little pillar that was on this building. So she knows he's strong, but she does not have the experience to control his strength that Peter has. Peter would know if it came down to it, and if he was fighting Sue Richards, he would know how hard he needed to hit her to not knock her head clean off her body. Karma does not know how hard she would need to hit. And so she's acting like, why are you guys coming after me? Why can't you people just leave me alone? I didn't do anything wrong. She doesn't say that, but her behavior kind of indicates that she feels like she's already suffered enough. And she certainly has suffered. I don't want to make it seem like she hasn't. But her behavior here, she acts younger than what I think she is. Because like I said, she's living in an apartment. She is the legal guardian of her younger siblings. So I'm assuming she is 18 or older, but she's acting like she's like 13. Like, I didn't do anything wrong, and she just doesn't understand that, yes, she did kind of do something wrong. She could have gone about this in a different way. She could have gone directly to the Fantastic Four and said, hello, I have the ability to possess somebody's brain. You guys are famous superheroes. I need your help. She could have done that. Instead, she chose to violate the rights of Spider-Man, who she believed was a criminal, but it doesn't matter if he's a criminal, he still has personal rights. And so, once all the cards are out on the table, Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four and Shan, they track down Tran and Uncle Koi and Leong and Naga, and then Tran is able to possess the Fantastic Four. Shan gets knocked out briefly, and then Spider-Man, it's basically him against the Fantastic Four, and he is basically able to hold his own. We find out here that Tran, he is intending to take over his uncle's criminal empire, and if their younger siblings do not have mutant abilities, which as of right now, as far as I know, Leong and Naga do not have mutant abilities, but they're still, even like in 2022, they're still pretty young. If it turns out they do not have mutant abilities, then who knows what Uncle Koi will plan to do with them. Even though they're family, they won't serve any use for them, for him, so who knows what he plans to do. Will he kill them? Will he sell them into slavery? We don't know. But Tran says he's planning on taking over his uncle's empire, and he will not let anything happen to his younger siblings. And then Karma is somehow able to mentally overpower Tran, and this is weird. This is really, really weird, because Tran has this robe with, you know, the symbol, I think it's the yin-yang symbol, I think that's what it's called. If it's called something else, I apologize, but it's, you know, the circle, half of it is black and half of it's white, and then there's like a black dot and a white half and a white dot and a black half. So Tran has half of that symbol on his shirt. Now, Karma, I didn't see the symbol on her shirt, but then she is able to mentally overpower Tran, and then suddenly his body just disappears. And this is not how Karma's abilities work. She is able to possess somebody's body, take over their mind, but then if she overpowers them mentally, that does not mean that their body just disappears like a Jedi Knight. That was really weird. And then it says, well, she was able to win because her power, she was acting through love, and Tran was acting through greed. I feel like maybe it would have just made more sense to say Tran was stretching himself too thin. He was possessing 4 people, and that's why Karma was able to defeat him, because earlier she mentions that he is healthy and well-fed, and she's not, and she had trouble resisting him when he took over Spider-Man earlier. But now he stretched himself too thin, and he's taking over 4 people and she's able to defeat him. That would have made sense. It's a little schmaltzy saying that because of love she wins, and then somehow she absorbs his energy into herself, so now she has the good and the bad. So now on Karma's shirt, you see the complete symbol. The black and white thing is on Karma's shirt. It's a little silly. We have never seen Karma's powers work this way in later issues. I feel like they just needed a way to get rid of Tran. They can't exactly put him in prison because then he'll just be able to take over a guard's mind and easily escape. And you don't want to just lobotomize him. That would be a little dark. So they just say, well, he just vanished and he absorbed into Tran, or into Shan. It's a little weird. Her powers never work like that in the future, but it's fine. And then Karma says, Shan says, if you guys ever need me in the future, just call on Karma. And Reed explains, Karma is the ultimate balance, and it's your ability to go into Nirvana. And it's weird because that doesn't really have anything to do with Shan's ability to possess people. I feel like, and maybe I'm not giving enough credit to Claremont and Miller, I feel like they were needing some kind of name that evokes Asian culture, and so they came upon Karma, which is an aspect of, I think, Buddhism, and so they said, okay, well, there's this word, Karma, let's just call her Karma, because she's from Vietnam. Now, I don't know if she is Buddhist. I don't think so. I feel like she, being a superhero and getting involved in lots of superhero scrapes, she's not a pacifist, and my understanding of Buddhism is you are a pacifist. And so I don't think that she really identifies with any particular religion. I think, now that I think about it, later on I think she is Catholic. And in this issue, she is in the Catholic Church talking with Father Bowen, but that is because she knows Father Bowen. He fought in Vietnam before he became a Catholic priest, and that's why she's there. But later on, I think that they say that she's Catholic. I think. I could be wrong. My knowledge of Karma is not what it is for some of the other X-Men characters, because while she is a founding member of the New Mutants, she disappears pretty early on in that series and doesn't stick with the team. And then even like when they become X-Force, she comes in later in the X-Force run, but she doesn't stick with them very long there either. So I don't know as much about Karma as I do some of the other New Mutants characters. But I do think it's a little weird that they chose the name Karma, which doesn't really have anything to do with her powers, but it's fine. It would be weirder, I think, if they now decided, yeah, that doesn't have anything to do with her powers, and then they gave her a new name. I think that would be very strange, kind of like how Rachel Summers a few years ago changed her name to Prestige, which, I mean, you had Jean Grey rolling around, and she has Phoenix powers, so we don't want to call Rachel Phoenix, so let's change her name to Prestige, but this character's been around for 30 years, why are you just now changing her code name? That's about all for Marvel Team Up issue 100. I don't have very much else to talk about here, so let's consider this one Examine.